everyone. Happy Tuesday. I hope everyone can hear me all right, and I hope you're having a good day so far. Thank you for joining us today on Shopify Compass. Shopify's learning platform that offers step-by-step guidance for entrepreneurs to launch and grow your business with confidence. And we welcome you to today's live webinar. It's an introduction to communication in uncertain times. So we like to see how far these things can reach. So if you can just shout out where you're from in the chat, maybe let us know what you sell, what your business is about, get to know each other a little better. If you're not seeing the chat, try refreshing your browser and that should pop up for you. I am your host. My name is Kai, and I work on the merchant relations team at Shopify. I'm probably in the same boat as many of our viewers that I'm actually also in the super early stages of starting my own business. And one of my go-to resources for feedback in some of my business planning is your speaker today, actually, Shazeen Pirani, aka Shaz. So Shaz is the merchant relations lead and my lead at Shopify. In this role, we connect with small business owners locally and internationally in support of finding the right fit for marketing opportunities that feature Shopify-based businesses. So prior to Shopify, Shaz has spent over a decade working in digital and traditional advertising at various agencies supporting various brands such as Bank of America, Nike, Kraft, TELUS, HP, Volkswagen, and there's a whole list of them. Shaz is also no stranger to running a business. She ran a successful international retreat, and it was called Kurna Collective. And she also recently launched a pro bono online wellness studio on Shopify called Open Mindful. And that's in support of instructors who are looking for employment opportunities during this time. So really cool stuff. One of the best things I find about our job and what we get to do here at Shopify is that we get to meet so many entrepreneurs and business owners with incredible stories, and we often get to help communicate those stories to the world. So the current state of the world, commerce, and our social climate has caused kind of this universal re-examination of communication. And I can't think of a better person to speak on the navigation of communication during uncertain times as Shaz. So without further ado, I'm excited to introduce you to today's speaker, Shaz. Thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you, Kai, for that amazing introduction. I appreciate it.
Of course. And just as we get into it, a few housekeeping notes here. A recorded version of this webinar will be made available on Shopify Compass for viewing later. For access, all you have to do is go to shopifycompass.com and or you can download our Shopify Compass app on your mobile device. We do, as I mentioned, have a live chat built into the stream, and we'd love to hear from you. So if you're dropping any questions in there, we can actually address them at the end of this live stream. So we'll take some of those questions and then Shaz can speak to them later on. With that, let's get into it.
Wonderful. Thank you, Kai. Hey, everyone. So as Kai mentioned, I'm Shaz. I head up the merchant relations team at Shopify. And I just want to reiterate that the recording of this presentation will be available on Shopify Compass later for you to watch. There will also be a survey available on our webinar's landing page for you to share your feedback with us. As always, remember that feedback is a gift. And just like you would appreciate feedback from your customers, your feedback is super important to us. I also want to invite you to set a goal of having 3 clear action items from our presentation today to work on in your business. After today's presentation, we'll have a brief question and answer period where I encourage you to bring up any questions about the presentation or even help facilitate discussion. This is an excellent opportunity for all of you to flesh out your action items for your business as well. So with that, let's get going. So at Shopify, we understand that running a business in uncertain times can be difficult. Our current environment is changing daily, and how we interact with others during this time can have an impact on us personally and emotionally, depending on what is being communicated. The same is true for businesses. Strategic communication from a business can help enable trust and build a positive reputation with customers and staff. This webinar is meant to act as a guide to help merchants be set up for success in how they communicate with their customers. So let's go through what we'll be covering today. The first section is around turning customers into community. So think about how you can share the parts of your business and story that are important to people right now. We'll talk about transparency and how you can stay connected to your community. Rethinking business as usual. What are some ways in which you're bringing your operations into the new world? Just as you would update your store hours or promos in regular times, what becomes part of your routine for sharing things with your customers? What elements of your in real life experiences are you now adapting for online? We also want to talk about using the right language to communicate and terminology that's becoming more familiar these days, as well as some suggested do's and don'ts. And last but not least, taking care of your people. So how you can take care of your staff, your employees, but also how you can take care of you and check in with yourself. So let's start with the first part of the presentation, turning customers into community. And I wanted to start this off with a quote from Simon Sinek. If you don't know who he is a motivational speaker and the author of Start with the Why. Simon says, authenticity is more than speaking. Authenticity is also about doing. Every decision we make says something about who we are. So let's get into staying true to your brand. The first thing you want to do for your business is revisit your brand's purpose and mission. Remember what your business exists to do. What kind of difference are you making in the lives of others? You can gain some perspective of the role that you play in the lives of your customers and let that help you guide your discussion. You are a brand in a time of crisis. You have an opportunity to make a brand new connection with your audience. You also want to think creatively about your offering. What products or services are most relevant to your customers at this time? How can you reposition the products you have so customers can see them in a new light? So for example, let's say that you've been carrying loungewear in your store for the past 6 months. Currently, loungewear is something that is super popular. People are buying it. They're staying at home, obviously, and they want to be comfortable. So how can you reposition that loungewear that you've had in your store for 6 months to make it relevant for today? And tell your story. Be you. Don't be afraid to go on social and tell your story. Introduce yourself, introduce your staff, give folks a sneak peek and bring them into the kitchen. People love to see what's going on behind the scenes. I'll give you an example of a friend of mine who's a Shopify merchant called Jewels and Aces. So although this example is actually from 24 weeks ago, I feel like it's still super relevant today. In this story, Grace introduces herself as the founder of the company, and she takes you behind the scenes and she shows you how she comes up with the jewelry in her store. So it starts off with a sketch that she shows you here, and then she even takes you behind the scenes to the tech that's actually making her products. I guess what I'm trying to say here is that your audience really likes a good story. And if they can create a story, if they know a story behind the product they've purchased, they're more likely to purchase it. Transparency is the key to clarity. So what you want to do here is you want to make sure that you're keeping your audience in the loop. You want to be transparent with your customers. If things have changed in your store, let your customers know how things have changed, being mindful of all touch points where customers are looking for information about your business. So for example, if you normally communicate about your business in social or on your website, be mindful to update any information there. Also remember to be frequent with your updates. Being more frequent with updates regarding supplier updates or shipping updates is super important right now. You can put that information on your website, in emails, on social. People really want their expectations to be set at a time like this, and you want to ensure that you're doing that. You want to be sure that you're answering your customers' questions before they even ask them. You also want to check in with your high-value customers. So these are customers who are consistently purchasing from your store, who you may have an active relationship with. Don't be afraid to check in with those customers. You can build relationships with them via emails. You can send personal supportive emails, and you can also gain insights from their responses. You'd be surprised with the amount of people who actually respond to personal emails that you might send. So I want to share this example here of a Shopify merchant called Bear Market, and how they've put up all this information on the homepage of their website to talk about all the changes that they've made. They're being super transparent about it and very, very detailed, likely answering all the questions that their customers may have in mind. They're also doing this on their Instagram page. So I actually love the way that they've kind of taken their brand and their brand colors, and they're incorporating all of their messaging very clearly, and they're being super frequent about it too. So I love this example because they're super clear about how they're making changes in their store. All right, let's talk about staying connected with your community. So first off, you want to make sure that you're building your community. You want to offer a space to your customers to engage with your brand and with each other. You also want to create communication opportunities. So send emails to highlight products, maybe offer discounts, even provide service updates. And you can even drive your email subscribers to social to ensure that they're following your brand as well. You also want to start the conversation. So you can encourage user-generated content, or UGC, and make your customer the hero by showing appreciation for their support by reposting their content. If they've posted anything from your store, it's so simple to just repost and tag them. And you can even offer them incentives for doing so. So if someone posts a new hair product from your store, you can offer them a 10% off discount to thank them. Share the love. So you also want to talk about any collaborations or connections that you're making within your community. If you're working with anyone in your community, talk about it, tag who you're working with, share your work in progress, even if it's not perfect. You may help spark the conversation with your audience. This is also a way to leverage the reach of the brand that you are partnering with. So here's some examples. So this is actually an example from Red Sky Shop, and she posted this story actually a few hours within each story, and I feel like it's really relevant to all of the points that I made. So the first example here is reposting some user-generated content. I noticed that Carrie from Red Sky does this quite a bit. Every day there's someone new wearing an outfit that she has sold them, and she's reposting all of their photos. So always good to share the love there. She's also partnering with another company here in the second example, Luna Collective, and she's talking about it. Chances are that Luna Collective has a similar audience to hers, and now they can kind of even join audiences because those who follow Luna might start following Red Sky as well. In the last example here, this is my favorite example actually, she's actually showing that she's a real person, that she's human. She's asking her audience what their favorite crime podcasts are. So even though this doesn't have a direct tie to her business, it's showing the human, more emotional side of who she is as an owner. I also wanted to give a quick shout out to Shopify Email, which launched recently. It's available to everyone for free until October 1st, and we can share a link on how to set it up. But just wanted everyone to know that we have this product available for you as a business owner who uses Shopify. All right, listening to your audience. So the first thing you can do to listen to your audience is create a virtual suggestion box. You can ask your customers what kinds of products or even what kinds of content they want to see. And you can use these insights to create content or create new products for your store. You can easily treat your audience as a mini focus group by doing this. You also want to make informed decisions. You can involve your customers in your business decisions within reason, of course, and help them help you decide what services or what products to offer. You can even conduct polls on Instagram. You can ask for customer input. Super easy to get these insights from your audience. And as always, treat feedback as a gift. So invest time in listening and responding to your audience. You can gain valuable insights from reading and responding to comments. And if there's an ask that resonates with you and your business, you can always test it out to see if it works. Here's another example from a friend of mine, Love Squared. Farah is the owner there. And this is an example from, I think it was last week, where she was releasing a new product and she was looking for people to submit some names for this product. I thought it was kind of funny because she told me that she always has a hard time naming these products. So why not ask the audience, which is a brilliant idea. So she actually even talked about her latest drop here. So she squeezed in 2 items in here that are super relevant, and she got a lot of new names for her new product. Here's another example of a merchant on Shopify called Floravir, which is a luxury bridal wear company. They asked their customers for advice, and they listened to them. So a lot of their customers are brides who have had their weddings postponed, and they're looking for a space or a community in which to communicate with each other. So they asked Floravir if they can create a Facebook group. So Floravir listened, they created a Facebook group, and now they have an active community that is communicating with each other. All right, the second part of our presentation is around rethinking business as usual. So let's get into some terminology and language that we should start getting used to. The first is good hygiene, which I'm sure everyone is already aware of these terms. But for this presentation, I want to talk about any sort of like sanitization efforts. It's super important to ensure that your customers are aware of like the safety measures that you're taking, especially at this time. These are things that they're expecting. So for example, if you are a restaurant and you are taking extra measures to ensure your environment is clean and sanitary, talk about this. You can show tasteful pictures about this. If this is relevant to your business, then it's a good idea to talk about these things. The second is contactless delivery or local delivery or even no contact delivery. This is becoming the norm these days. It offers customers a sense of safety with their purchase. If you have the ability to drop off orders locally, you can actually create a local delivery option in Shopify, which is only visible to customers who live in that zone, which is super convenient. Brick and mortar retailers using Shopify POS will have the opportunity to offer customers in-store or curbside pickup for online orders. Curbside pickup allows local customers to buy something online and pick it up outside your store without ever having to leave the car. So this sort of drive-through option not only minimizes person-to-person interactions, but it also reduces shipping costs. And shipping delays. So you want to make sure you're staying in touch with your customers to communicate shipping delays. You can send out an email to your subscribers and even create an announcement bar on your homepage to share any shipping updates with your customers. Return policies. So it is best to be super clear about what your return policy is these days. Customers are more likely to expect flexible return policies. They aren't actually able to come into your store or try products. So it's good to have that flexibility. Also a good idea, if it's relevant to your business, to talk about sanitizing or cleaning the products before restocking. So just a quick shout out here to our Shopify blog, which has a post around curbside pickup, and we can share the link with you. But if you are interested in setting that up for your store, it's super easy to do, and we can give you the tools to do so. I also want to share this example from another Shopify merchant called Kendall Hills Farm. They've actually shared their full process that they've put together that's literally farm to table. They make it super easy for customers to understand how they're operating from ordering online to no contact home deliveries. They've made it really visual. They've put this on their homepage and they're being super transparent about it. I feel like a visual representation like this is so easy and convenient for customers to understand what the new updates or new process is for this store. Another example I'd like to share is from Lint, who is also on Shopify. And they've also done a great job of laying out laying out their information very clearly. They have a tout on their homepage that talks about contactless curbside pickup, and they have all their information within their FAQ section around how they're offering the service. Virtual experiences. So some merchants are offering things like virtual showrooms or virtual fitting rooms. This is the case for stores who may be selling clothing, accessories, home goods, making the customer feel stronger about their purchase decision, especially if they've never purchased from you before. Another thing we're seeing a lot of is live stream content. So for example, like yoga or Pilates classes, which can give you a good way to speak to your audience and see them in a different light. Many brands have started using Zoom, IG Live, other streaming platforms to offer things like classes or even workshops. Augmented reality. So incorporating AR can give your customers a more immersive shopping experience. You can increase buying confidence and help shoppers get a truer sense of the size, scale, and detail of your products. You can bring your products to life by showcasing realistic, interactive versions of your products, and even give shoppers the ability to turn any environment into their own showroom. So I want to share some examples here. This is Anise Jewelry, who is on Shopify, and I love this example. She held a jewelry party, and it was not only to help create community amongst her customers, but also teach them a new skill. And I don't know about you guys, but for me, if I'm learning a new skill for the very first time, if it's something as unique as making a piece of jewelry, it's probably something that I'm going to remember and something I'm going to talk about. So the more unique you can make your experience, the better it is. Another example here of Shopify merchant, Magnolia. And this is an example of how you can see one of their beautiful vases in your own space using AR. So this is a very immersive sort of technology, and it's available on Shopify. We could share the link with you as well. And here's another example of ArtStar, which is an art curation company. They have tons of beautiful art that they're selling to both businesses as well as individuals. And they've set up this online booking system to let people book art consultations with their employees, which again brings a sense of community, sense of communication or open communication with their customers. All right, let's get into some do's and don'ts. So the first do that we have is offer incentives to valued customers. And we talked about this earlier, like offering discounts to high value customers, always a good thing to do. It'll keep them coming back. But don't use the pandemic as a marketing opportunity or a way to provide discounts and promotions. And what I mean by that is you don't want to use the pandemic kind of in your favor. So here's an example of a company who shall remain nameless, who sent an email saying a special COVID-19 discount for you. Probably not the right language to use. Sure, it's great to offer a discount, but don't use the pandemic to do so. Another example that you may have seen from Subway, I think this was in Calgary, they offered a free medical mask if you bought 2 regular sandwiches. So again, it just doesn't really tie together with the brand, and probably not something that you want to offer along with sandwiches. All right, another do. Be transparent about any struggles that are affecting your business or any shipping. But don't complain or blame others for any struggles or delays. You don't want to use the pandemic or any effects of the pandemic to be communicating about things that are going badly in your business, but you can be transparent about it. I have seen some businesses share an IG story of them shipping packages, so at least you can bring that transparency there that you're doing your part, but try not to complain about any issues that may be happening as a result. All right, Do send out updates as changes are happening within your store or your offering. And we talked about this. We talked about putting this in various different spots like your website as well as social or email. But don't send updates about the pandemic that have no impact on your store. So if you've heard something on the news and you're super passionate about it or concerned about it, probably not the best thing to update your customers with unless it is super relevant to your store and your offering. All right. You do want to make sure that you're holding things like Instagram lives or live stream events or virtual sessions, especially if what you're offering is super unique. But you want to make sure that you're not overdoing it. I feel like I've seen a lot of brands who have been doing IG lives every single day. And it's great to have that connection with your community, but you also don't want to do it to the point where you're running out of content. You still want to make sure that what you're offering is unique to your customers. All right, and do ask your audience to share their purchases, take photos, videos, but don't forget to share or promote content from your customers. If they're creating it, you may as well give them the spotlight and share it with your audience. And the last section we'll talk about today is taking care of your people. So let's talk about communicating with your employees. We can share some resources for your employees if they're looking for support in this time. There are so many programs available. For those who do have employees, this section is probably most relevant to you. You want to make sure that you're providing timely updates on where your business is heading and how things have changed, how you're adapting, and what your plans are for the near future. It's also a good idea to involve employees in support with decision making. They may have insight into your business as well, so you may as well leverage that insight. They can also help with any external facing comms, so get them involved. They can be posting in social, they can be sending out emails. You can also ask your employees what they need at this time, similar to how you ask your customers. You can gain valuable learnings into what is happening in their lives and how they're coping. You also want to make sure that you're checking in and keeping a healthy work culture, and you're still holding meetings. A lot of folks are holding meetings online through Zoom, through Google Hangouts. Keep that going. Offer happy hours with your employees. Don't lose that work culture. You can also offer other support measures, such as working different hours or shifts, especially if your employees have kids or are a caregiver. Here's an example of one of our merchants. This is actually the store owner of Package Free Shop. And I love that she posted this on her personal page, but this is an example of a happy hour that she had for Earth Day. All of her products are sustainable. So she threw this happy hour, and she had it with her employees, and she's capturing the Zoom call with her employees, and she's sharing it in social. So I love that she's doing that, because it really takes us inside her workplace and shows us what her employees are representing. Okay, lastly, checking in with yourself. So in this time, you want to make sure that you're managing stress and uncertainty. Good health is very important when you're an entrepreneur. Running a small business takes a lot out of you. Your small business comes with long nights, early mornings, probably no weekends, and likely no sick days either. You're probably nonstop, and your life can put strain on your body. And then you add stress on top of that strain. So don't forget to do the simple things like drink enough water throughout the day, eat regularly, get enough sleep, get exercise when you can, do stretches if you can. And that really helps manage any stress that may be going on because of that uncertainty. Also make sure that you're creating space for yourself to unwind, disconnect, and reflect. Take a break. If you're constantly spinning your wheels and not getting anywhere and stressing out about any sort of problem you may be facing, take a short break. It might be all you need. Stepping away from the stressor for even 10 minutes can help refresh and calm you. Also take time for yourself. You can take time to journal, recite positive affirmations. You can meditate. Remember all the things that you're actually doing right in your business and make note of them, as opposed to focusing on what may be going wrong. So I want to give a shout out to Alicia, who is doing a webinar tomorrow on the mindful entrepreneur. So, if this section resonated with you, I feel like it would be a good opportunity to join tomorrow's webinar as well. And with that, that is the end of the presentation. So let's get into some Q&A.
Let's get into some Q&A. Thank you so much for that, Shaz. I feel like that was super insightful and never more relevant than now. I've got some great takeaways, and I'm sure the audience does too. So we're just going to hop into the questions here. Just a reminder, you can still drop them into the chat if you have anything that you haven't asked already. So the first one that's coming across my desk here. So if our business is giving back to essential and frontline workers at this time, that might be like a monetary donation or creating something to help them like masks. What do you think would be the best way to communicate that?
That's a great question. I think that the best way to communicate that is probably through your organic channels. If you are giving back to your community or giving back to essential workers, it's definitely something that you want to talk about, but probably not something you want to advertise. So you don't want to be putting any paid media behind it, but it is something that you can still have in like a story or in an email. I think it's super important to talk about these things in the community. So I would still encourage that conversation, but just don't put any paid behind it.
Completely agree. You do want it to come off as a little bit more organically for sure. Yeah. And so earlier in the presentation in the first section, you mentioned being sure to keep your audience in the loop and being frequent with the updates that you're providing to your audiences. So how would you say a business owner might go about balancing an appropriate amount of updates and not kind of like overwhelming audiences with posting and posting and posting?
Right. That's a really good question. I'm inclined to say something like less is more, but I know I said frequent. I think how I'd answer this is if you have new information to share, then share it. If what you're sharing is a reiteration of what you've already shared and your content is becoming stale, then step away from it. You don't need to share it again or share it too much. So I would stick to what is new and what is relevant.
Totally. And depending on your channels too, like let's say you are promoting and posting and updating on Instagram, you also kind of have the balance of having your Instagram grid as well as your Instagram stories. So you can choose which content you think is more relevant between the two, for example.
Definitely. It's a great point.
And then another question we have coming in from the chat from Peter. Peter says, my business cannot do any photo shoots at the moment, so we barely have any new content to post. Is there any suggestion that you might have in terms of what we should be posting to create engagement during this time?
That's a great question, Peter. So I talked about user-generated content. You can always, send your products to some high-value customers, get them to take some photos and send them back to you. There are a lot of influencers who also do some pro bono work and have proper setups for photography, like the ring light and probably a good camera. So you can always get your product out there and get other people to capture these photos on your behalf. And then of a similar vein, you can also purchase products like light boxes or lighting rings to help with your own photography at home. I feel like a lot of business owners that I've been speaking to have turned to doing these types of things at home, especially for new collections that they're launching with.
Absolutely agree. And it's also a great way to just kind of develop out those skills of your self-created content by creating your own photography and buying a light box and playing around with some of your options at home as well. And another question that we have coming from Clark. Clark says, as a small business owner, we have noticed not everyone is understanding delays in shipping and production. What would you suggest in terms of communication to better prepare customers for such issues? And what channels do you find would be the most effective for that?
That's an excellent question. If your customers aren't really understanding, I would take that as an opportunity if you have a social account that you're using actively for your business to create a video of yourself and talk about the struggles that are happening with shipping and the delays. I would be super transparent and kind of show more of the human side behind it. If they're just seeing delay, emails that are a little bit more on the colder side of things, they may not be able to resonate with it. But if you bring that human element to it, I feel like that will definitely change the way they might perceive you and your business. In terms of channels, I feel like social is probably one of the best ways to speak to your audience on a regular basis. You could use stories in Instagram. You could even do like a Facebook Live. You could post in Instagram. You can tweet about it. I feel like social is probably the best spot to put any communication about that.
Thank you for that. And we do have another question coming in here from Steph. If you're the only person running the business and always use we or us on the storefront and on socials to identify from a first person, it is sometimes hard to maintain that professionalism and vocabulary when trying to relate to the customers with Instagram stories. If you're running this from your home, do you have any suggestions on how to best keep things professional?
It's a great question. I feel like in the businesses that I have run, I will always use we just to like, I feel like it does come across quite professional when you say we, because it feels like you have a team. I mean, I hope this is the right advice, but I would probably stick to that. I like using we, and you never know, you may grow as a company and then hire employees so that we would still be relevant. I think if you do want to communicate the I to show people that you are, a one-person operation, then you can also do that, right? You can talk to your customers in social, and you can tell them that you are the founder, the owner, the advertiser, the product selector, the everything for the business. But I think when it comes to things like responding to emails or any type of formal communication, using we doesn't hurt.
Definitely agree. And I also find that just using we offers the perspective of kind of coming from a community-centric approach, as well as having a team behind you, like Shaz mentioned as well. So as we mentioned earlier, the recording of this webinar is going to be available at shopifycompass.com if you did want to watch it again, send it to a friend. I also wanted to remind anyone that if you are new to Shopify, we do have an extended free trial of 90 days. So usually it's 14 days. Right now we have it for 90 days, which is great. You can head to shopify.com/COVID-19 to get set up with that. There is a feedback survey available just below the live stream if you're watching on Shopify Compass, and we'd love to hear from you. If you can spare a few moments of your time, we would super appreciate that. And with that, thank you so much, Shaz, for your time today, and thank you to all of our viewers.
Thanks, everyone.
Have a great day, everyone.